Right guys, it's been ages and I finally got around to it. We're going to talk about 1975 Notes on a Conditional Form. Here it is, and here we go. Right, to kick off I want to talk about the design. It is a gatefold LP and it is a double LP, which means there's two vinyl records, and as you can tell it's a very different kind of vibe you're getting than the other releases that they had. You know, it's very well, blank, very plain, not much going on here, very minimalist, and it is made of 100% recycled card, or so they say, which I believe it is, which is very good of them. I do like that idea, and I think potentially, I'm not sure if this is a fact, but the fact that there's, you know, a lack of anything going on here, apart from, you know, quite a lot of stuff happening on the back, but on the front, you know, and even on the, well, I'll show you later, but the fact that nothing's happening here potentially means they're minimising on the use of ink, which is also a good thing, and this whole album, yeah, I suppose it's been relatively sustainable to some sense, which is a good effort. But anyway, next is obviously, you know, the design. Again, not much going on. I'm not a huge fan of the logo. I know it's quite simple and straightforward and bold and, you know, kind of stylized in a way where it's notes on conditional form, but I don't know, I feel it's a bit too basic for me. I kind of like that they've, you know, again, carrying on the Music for Cars saga or whatever it's meant to be by this point, having it noted here, and obviously the title and the band name and all the other stuff. On the back, things improve a lot more. There is a large piece of, you know, stylized artwork of a photo of the band, in fact, done in a way which is quite grungy, which I feel like is actually quite fitting when you think about the type of songs that are on this album and their history, but I'll move on to that later. A very clear, very, you know, easy to read track list, side A, side B, very easy to read, 22 songs. Yeah, not much to say about that. One very important thing I like to know about the design and why it is the way it is because I remember in an interview Matty did say that it was really inspired by the Juicy columns, one of their albums that they released, which was made out of sandpaper, and it literally destroys everything around it, which is like quite a cool concept and metaphor in a way, like a literal metaphor, which is a very powerful message, and I'm not really sure why they've done it here, because I don't know, maybe it's meant to be disruptive, you know, some of the songs, and I suppose lately in the past couple of albums by the 1975 are very, I suppose, relevant, contemporary, you know, challenging in some sense about the various things that's going on with the world just generally. Perhaps that's why it's paying homage to that, I think. But that's just one of my interpretations of it. But yeah, as mentioned before, it is a gatefold sleeve which opens up like this, with the two vinyl records on either side in their own individual sleeves. And as you can tell, we're very blank on this side, which again might be because it's continuing on the theme of this minimalistic, simplistic kind of approach, and potentially a sustainable approach, I'm not too sure, but again, just my interpretation. And with just the use of black text on this side, all the credits and all that sort of stuff. Now these are the two inner sleeves which house the records themselves. This one is on the left hand side, and as you can tell it carries on the same sort of theme of the general sort of design. It's just typically, but with a look that's kind of a bit reminiscent to A Brief Inquiry, you know, the kind of optical illusions, typography, graphics sort of approach to it, and it almost kind of reminds me of those television transmission broadcast test images that they do. I don't know if that's, again, like meant to be reminiscent to that or not, but that does remind me of it. But yeah, quite straightforward design, again, not overly complicated. And on the other side it's much more basic, but I do prefer this look than the logo on the cover. I think just simply because they're playing around with the positive and negative sort of spaces with the text and that kind of thing, and yeah, I mean, it's not too bad. Again, relatively simplistic. Again, might be the general approach by using less ink. I don't know if that is, but if that is the overall arcing message behind it, which, you know, judging by the first track of the album, then possibly that's why they've done it. Also, I'd like to note that these sleeves are actually relatively high quality. It's you know, it's smooth on the inside in some sense. It's almost the same texture as the outside, but it's way better than the paper ones for some reason for me, and also way better than those like those kind of coated paper ones which really stick onto it and create a lot of static, and you can never take the record out without feeling like you might scratch it. But this one's very easy because it's, you know, it's got like a quite a significant integral form to it, so I suppose it's, you know, much more stronger, it protects the record, and yeah, not such a bad idea. Right, this is the vinyl record itself. It is in neon yellow, it's 140 grams, and there's obviously two of them. There's just side A and side B. I like it, you know, personally I prefer the more smoky, clear version, but that's only just me because I like, you know, the fact that it's kind of a running theme they've got going on, and it's colourless, it kind of has this purity to it, and it reminds me of the classic sort of days when in their first album and their EPs and stuff. But this is still very striking, very, you know, bold, and I suppose in a way, again, it carries on this theme of putting across this message, making sure people listen, and it's kind of like, yeah, like an exclamation of that. Also, it's interesting to note that on the record, I think on side A, there is a scratched in message. They keep doing this. I don't know if any bands do this as well, but they always add a little message, and on this one it says, if this is to be read in future, please know that this was us trying. Again, might be carrying on that theme, possibly, I don't know. But anyway. Now onto the track list, but before that I'd like to warn you, I do have very mixed feelings for this album. But before I get too harsh, or before I get too, you know, before I critique it too much, I would like to note that I absolutely loved the singles they released before the album came out. I thought each song had variety, it had something new to bring to the table, it kind of continued elements that that worked really well in A Brief Inquiry and stuff before that. And that was brilliant, and there were some really fun songs there. However, and I can't remember, actually no, I think if Guys was released with the album, then that's also a good song. But apart from that one, everything left on the album that wasn't a single, I feel like wasn't great. I didn't enjoy it. There might be one or two tracks that grew on me after a while, after a few more listens, but I was quite disappointed. But to bring this back to tracks that I did enjoy, for example, People. It was a very bold initial opening kind of track, a single to release ahead of announcing the album. I feel like, you know, it was full of angst, it was really angry, it was loud, it was, you know, all over the place in a good way for me, because I like that kind of aspect. I do like that genre as well, but also I think, again, like what I was saying is bold, is that it was really confident, because they're kind of at the stage where they're so established that they kind of can put out anything and just test the water, see what happens, see what the reception is. And if it's good or bad, it doesn't seem to matter, because they're artists at the end of the day. They're free to express themselves and do whatever they like, and if people like it or not, well, screw them, you know. So that's kind of, you know, why I thought that was quite a cool opening track. But also I would like to mention, and I don't want to go too much into it, but I find it really surprising, and it's a really silly mindset to have for people, but for people to, like, you know, hear one song from a band, used to like them, but then after this one track they therefore won't support them to go see them live or whatever. That kind of thing, I feel that's really silly and immature, because I was having this conversation with a girl I know, this was back during when they released People, when I was having dinner with her, we were catching up, and we were talking about the band and that new song, and she was like, yeah, she doesn't like it, she really hates it, and she probably doesn't want to go see them live again, because, well, not live, not that exaggerated, but like that kind of thing. I'm like, wow, I mean, if you, first of all, that's quite a silly kind of mindset to have, but secondly, if people just generally kind of did their research and knew a bit more about the 1975, they would know that before they were the 1975, when they were called Drive Like I Do, their music was a lot heavier. It was very punk rock alternative, and stuff that is very reminiscent to People. I know People was probably a lot heavier than it, a lot more distortion, but look, it's just a natural progression. It's stuff that they used to do, and they kind of bring it back. So yeah, Frail State of Mind is one of my favourite songs on the album, probably the second, one of the top two. I love how it introduces this kind of UK garage aspect to it. Also I suppose lyrically, it's very emotionally and sort of mentally vulnerable. It kind of shows that side of Matty, and you know, the whole theme of how there's stigma, blah 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 blah, and how we should be overcoming that. And yeah, I like that song. Now the Birthday Party, it kind of like a Frail State of Mind in a sense that it's really relaxed and chill. I like that aspect of it, and also, you know, it has kind of elements of what they kind of used to do, but in a different kind of way. but also very trippy video, and that's an interesting aspect of it. Me and You Together song isn't a track I really do enjoy from this album, and released before the album came out as a single, and I like it because it takes these atmospheric elements from what worked really well from their earlier releases and that kind of indie vibe as well into this track and onto this sort of like new form. It's upbeat, it's fun, it's a love song, you know, what's not to like. So my other favourite song from the singles that they released is If You're Too Shy Let Me Know, because, you know, it's a track that kind of feels like it's taken straight off of A Brief Inquiry. You know, it has that kind of variety, the diversity in the sort of sonically, and also it's just a great track which you know, nice bit of clever songwriting, it's fun, it's a bit cheeky, yeah, it's got all these elements that people love from the 1975, and I really feel like they should have done it more. So the song Guys is what ends the album, and it's a very sweet way to end it too, because if you kind of listen to the song lyrics, you know, Matic's talking about how, you know, it's a song about his bandmates, about friendship, the brotherhood, how much he appreciates them, and how much they kind of grown over the years together, the opportunities that they've been given, and to feel like that's a huge achievement and to be proud of that. And it's, you know, it's a song that's finally kind of like about them, and it's a song that we kind of relate to in the sense of that we've kind of grown up with them, with their music career, and yeah, something to be proud of. And also he did say in an interview that he wanted to write a song that kind of, you know, they had a song about girls and now it's a song about guys, and yeah, it's about them, you know, as a band, and it's a very sweet way to round off the album. So overall, sadly, I only liked about 6, 7, maybe 8 out of the 22 tracks, which isn't a really good ratio for me to confidently say whether it was a good album or not. But look, the 1975 have proved time and time again that they're more than capable of writing incredible music and surprising us. So for all we know, the next release is going to be a banger, and we're going to forget about all this and take away the good moments, and maybe that's the message at the end of this video. You know, it's absolutely okay to like and dislike certain songs from a band. You don't have to love all of them. You know, you can like certain aspects and disagree in certain places and yet still support them, which is absolutely fine, and I think that's a great way to end the video. So yeah, thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you found it helpful in some way, please feel free to show support by liking, commenting, subscribing to my channel, and following me on my socials, and I'll see you next time.